Well, hello everyone. Spot of Nerd here with episode 120. Something pretty cool you probably gathered with this podcast slash YouTube channel is every 5 episodes you get to see this beautiful face. So if you're listening right now, keep on listening. If you're not and watching this on YouTube, God bless. Sweet. It's pretty awesome. So I'm going to kind of wing it because I feel like I just got off of a long ass flight. I really do. I feel like I've just been on an airplane for like 10 fucking hours. And I wasn't on a flight. All I did was just go and actually watch the latest Avatar, The Way of Water. Sweet Mother of God. Before I get into it, there is going to be spoilers. If you have not seen it or won't see it until it comes out, you don't want to know about the film, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to throw spoilers in. They're pretty obvious. Let me just be blunt. If you've seen the first one, you've seen the second one. Because it's the exact goddamn story. But there's a big but here. I cannot lie. Other brothers cannot deny. When a cat's butt walks in my face, because it's doing it right now in a minute, these other brothers can't deny something. If you were to ask me overall, it's actually an okay film. But the reason where I'm going in the exhaustion, the flight, blah, 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 this fucker is 3 hours. Not just 3 hours. 3 hours and 10 minutes. Now, sure, you could do the debate about, well, there's the Lord of the Rings. There is, especially the extended versions, The Hobbit. There's other film, Blade Runner 2049, which is one of my favorite films of all time. If not probably the most favorite film of all time. So, what is exhausting about this film is, again, it's the exact same story. And I think that is what's going to be its downfall. I really do. I actually really enjoyed the first Avatar film. It was that first experience watching a movie in 3D. And actually, yes, another good point about this second film, the sequel, go and watch it. If you're gonna go watch it in 3D. You gotta give credit to Cameron. You gotta give credit to, again, that first film. He's only improved on the visuals of this film. So it is incredibly done. It is incredibly well done in a visual sense. But, overall, I mean, sure, it's actually not bad if you enjoyed the first film. If you didn't enjoy the first Avatar film, you are going to hate this franchise. Hate this franchise. I promise you that. Again, before we kind of get a little bit more involved, I've got my handy dandy tablet so I can, I've obviously written down some notes so my brain doesn't fart, because again, I'm going to have to kind of one day we're going to change the name, I swear to you. We're going to go, instead of Spot of Nerd, Time for a Chinwag, the podcasts, we're going to just change it to Spot of Nerd, Broken Record, because I'm going to just kind of say the same thing over and over again. But you're still going to listen, hopefully, because I love you all and I hope you all love me. I will say it again, but please subscribe right down below. Comment, like. I'm just going to throw my little pen here so that way I can make it look weird. Not too many edits. Again, I'm sticking to it. I don't like editing these things. So you get what you get. To the point. I don't mean to give you a sigh of like negativeness or just I just don't mean to be I feel like I need a nap or sleep after watching that film because it is so goddamn long. And this is okay, let's get the bad out of the way and then we'll talk about the good, but it does not need to be 3 hours. I'm not sorry to say that. And if anybody, James Cameron or if anybody watches, you're all important, but I'm talking about people that, direct the film and writers, producers. You don't need to make this film 3 hours. 3 hours and 10 minutes. You really don't. I mean, you add previews to that, this fucker is 4 hours. 4 fucking hours. That is a day. You have to spend an entire day just to watch this film. Especially if you were going to go watch it in theaters. Because I would love it. This is hopefully the future of cinema. Let us take a break in the middle of it. And then we can come back and watch the other half another time. Or split it up into 3 hours. It's just too long. You could even, people say, like, well, what about Endgame, Avengers and things like that. And, sure, if you go back, I did a review on it. Sure. Was it long? Yes. Was it 3 hours and 10 minutes long? No. So it's just really hard to capture my attention, to capture a solid story, especially when you've just repeated the same story. So again, let's hypothetically take Avengers Endgame, this Avatar, The Way of Water. With Avengers Endgame, you had a very unique story. You are literally concluding 23 odd other films to give us the finale. With Avatar, The Way of Water, you have literally repeated the first film. So there's not really much that's new. The concept of the Na'vi and the concept of the god, I forget what the name is, Pandora, the planet, the god, the little floaty pollen things. It's the same concept, but instead of being in a forest, you've put it in water. There's nothing different. There's nothing unique about this film. And they've even, I'll be honest, this is where they kind of cheapskated it. If that's I guess you understand what I'm getting at. So at the end of the first film, you've got the lieutenant guy basically takes 2 arrows to the heart, and he's obviously killed by Gamora. The girl wife of Jake Sully, who plays his wife. We're just gonna call her Gamora from Guardians of the Galaxy. But again, you have so much you want to talk about in your brain, and you're just trying to formulate the words. But the bottom line is, the way they cheapskated this was, it's that cliche story, sci-fi story of, hey, guess what? We have your entire personality, your entire aura, what makes you you, and we've stored it in a database. And because we've created avatars, we're now going to just download you into this avatar. And lo and behold, the dude is back. He's not dead. He's just reborn into an avatar. And it's just, if you ask me, when I see stuff like that, when I experience that from a movie standpoint, whether it's a sequel or whether even a brand new film, it's just lazy. It really is lazy story writing. And that, ultimately, I think, that's going to be a part of its downfall. Apparently there's like 3 more other sequels. And dear God, if you're going to just go this route, tell you what, I will wait for the next one to just come to streaming services or to DVD. Because number one, I'm not going to do another 3-hour plus film in theaters if you're going to give us the same fucking story. And number two, if you're just going to repeat what you've already done, and I'm not just talking about what I've just said in terms of repeat the story, but if you're going to repeat, the messaging, if you're going to repeat your politics, if you're going to repeat your character development, if you're going to take everything you told us in the first film and just put it in a second film, but in a different area of the planet, it doesn't work. You have to give us something new. In the first film, we were taught about the planet's origins and how everything is a giant network, and You know, whether you're a tree or a dog or a Na'vi, you're all linked. We got that. So in this sequel, Avatar: The Way of Water, they go over that again, obviously in the water side of things, but they take an hour and a half to 2 hours of this movie to explain it. So literally, this movie could have been an hour and a half. You know, if you were to spread it out, so let's kind of look at the overall picture, haha, no pun intended. The first 30 to 45 minutes is actually really, really cool. It's really awesome because it is telling you the story about how they're in the future of this storyline. I think it's about, they said 30 years in the future from the original film. You know, Jake and his wife, Gamora, have had kids, and humans have now come back. So, you know, humans have come back with revenge. There was a little small hint. I was a little worried. I was like, oh God, don't do it. Don't you fucking do it. Colonization, white people bad, you know, things like that. There was a little part of it I was a little worried about, like, don't go deep on that. Don't you go deep on it. But they winded it back. So, but there are some really great action sequences, you know, where they're obviously trying to get the weapons. You know, the Na'vi are trying to get the weapons from the humans to basically protect themselves. So, again, that first 30 to 45 minutes, really, really great to kind of start that storyline and really give us something awesome. And then you get to the water part. Oh, God, that is where you are literally begging. You're begging for action, you know. Visually, like I said, it is stunning. It is really probably one of the best visually-esque films I've ever seen in my life. It really is, and that's why I do recommend that you go and watch it in 3D. If you can stand it. I mean, again, that's 3 hours of 3D. Your brain's going to get maybe a headache or dizzy and stuff like that. Hopefully you don't get sick. But, watch it in 3D. Trust me, you won't. It'll be worth it. It's worth the extra money, I think, to watch that film in 3D. So you have that hour and a half to 2 hours in the middle where you are just begging for something just action, sex, violence. You're begging for it because that is a long time to not only go over the way of water, but to go over the story that we already know. Like I've mentioned, they're just giving you the same story from the first film, but now it's in water. And then you have that last 45 to an hour, which is, of course, the climactic fight sequence between the humans and the water people. And I don't know how to wait. It's one of those things where this is where I hope, if you are going to make more films, which they are, there's going to be 2 more, 3 more sequels. You know, this is where that lazy writing kind of comes in, and I hope they do give us more than what they did in this film, because you basically just have one very small platoon of humans, and they're battling the Na'vi, and I'm sorry to say this, but I call bullshit. You know, you're going to tell me, let's just say hypothetically, 1,000 Na'vi against an armed militia is going to survive. Like, it doesn't make sense, you know. In the beginning of the film, that's where I say where the cool part was, the humans have literally developed cities on Pandora. And you're telling me they're going to win in a fight against the humans that have far superior artillery and armory and everything in between? Sure, you know, the Na'vi, the blue people, and the not so blue people-ish, the greenish people from the water, you know, they're green because they're from the water. You know, sure, they might have the numbers, but they do not have the forces to go against rocket launchers and nukes and ships and so on and so forth. It doesn't make sense. There's absolutely no way in hell you're going to win that fight. So the way it kind of ends, sure, you have this battle sequence, and yes, the Na'vi win, and, you know, the bad guy is, of course, not dead. He will reign another day, and, likely is going to be setting up for that ultimate fight between humans and the Na'vi from a global perspective on Pandora, I guess, if that kind of makes sense. But again, I just don't see it happening. I really don't. Unless something magical, which there's going to be a tie back. So let me cut in between here. Sigourney Weaver dies in the first film, but they've used her blood and her genes to create another child of hers, which of course Jake takes in and basically says, "You're one of my own. I'm going to be your own kid." So this is where I think, if anything, too, Lucasfilm and Star Wars, George Lucas, I think, should sue James Cameron, because they are literally doing the entire Jedi magical power type thing, where apparently she can zap into the planet's power and use the Force to basically fight humans. So this is where it gets a little, again, I kind of see they're trying to do something different, but it is really not working at all, because it's been done with other films like Star Wars. So Sigourney Weaver's kid basically can tap in to the planet. So when you kind of have that, again, those kind of side stories, it's been done. Like, again, me being the broken record that I am, you gotta be something different. And I think that was what made the original film so great, was because it was different. It wasn't your typical humans go to this far off planet and aliens and blah, 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 blah. No, it really is humans go to this planet, they need this material, they come into conflict with a planet that's almost alive. It's almost taking a book from the Guardians of the Galaxy 2 aspects, or the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where they're not stealing the idea, they're not stealing the concept, but they are giving us something unique where everything on this planet is intertwined together to create something pretty special, something godlike. There's a higher being like story behind everything, very Lion King-esque, where sure, the lions eat the wildebeest eat the grass, everybody dies, so the wildebeest eat the grass, the lions eat the wild. It's the circle of life, and I don't know, shut up, Ian. I'm literally drunk at this point. If you know me enough, when I get tired enough, I get drunk, and then I start spewing really fast words, like as if I was high. But I'm actually not, because I haven't had any medications yet. So, slowing it down. We'll kind of wrap this episode up, but I would just say, if you go and watch this film, a couple things. Sneak in a lot of food and drink. Make sure to empty out your bladder, obviously, as much as you possibly can. You will probably have to take a break. Trust me, there are 1.5 to 2 hours in the film where you will have plenty of time to go to the bathroom. Don't miss the first 45 minutes. Don't miss that last 45 to an hour. You can probably tell from that first 5 minutes, like I've said, this film is just going to be a repeat of the first one. And like I've said, I don't necessarily see it as a overall flop. I don't think this was a bad film, but I definitely feel it's gonna bomb if it goes the route that it is, specifically for sequels in the future. I don't know what they're gonna do. I have a pretty good idea. They're just gonna have this all-out war between humans and the blue people, and somehow Sigourney Weaver's daughter is gonna be Luke Skywalker and have to face off against Darth Vader. That's just my prediction. So, maybe, who knows? At the same time, it has taken over 10 years to get this sequel. Why is beyond me. And that's another thing I think is going to make this film not do so hot, whether in the box office or just with the audience. Because a lot of us have grown up and from the first film, and a lot of us kind of, I'll be very frank, we've lost interest. I was excited to see this film because I did think it was such a great film from the start. I wasn't ecstatic about this second sequel, I just was like, okay, cool, yeah, something to go see in theaters for once. You know, let's be real. There's not a lot of movies out there right now that are exciting to go and be like, yes, that's going to be something I'm going to go see. Avatar was something, sure, yeah, let's go see in a theater because I think it deserves to be seen on the big screen. 2023, as I've talked on this channel and podcast, yeah, there's a lot of films. You've got Ant-Man, Transformers, there's some other stuff coming out in 2023 that is going to be worthy of watching in the theater. But, I mean, if you look at these next sequels for the Avatars, I genuinely probably, like I've said, probably going to wait for them to end up on a streaming service, to be wait for them to come out on DVD or elsewhere, you know? So we'll just have to play it by ear and see how that goes. So overall, broken record moment, like I've said, to finish off this video, if you enjoyed the first film, odds are you probably will enjoy the second one, but it's going to be okay. It's going to be kind of meh, okay, I saw it, I don't need to see it again. If you hated the first film, if you just absolutely despised it and was like, what the fuck is this shit? Don't waste your money. Really, I promise you, if you can take any sort of advice from me, don't go see it. You're going to waste 3-4 hours of your life. I promise you that. And then overall, for the future of this franchise, I'm not optimistic. And even that's just me being realistic, not being negative Nancy. I'm not very optimistic about where they're taking the direction of this franchise. I really am not. Not even just because James Cameron has given to the woke crowd and said that masculinity is bad. So for that, James Cameron can go fuck himself, because I think men should be men. And I think they should be not going down that hole, not going into that trouble. But I really do think men should kind of have that masculinity and open doors for the ladies and treat, you know, be that dominant in terms of like, hey, if your lady's being attacked, you need to go and save the day. I don't mean it in any, I want to make sure that I'm very clear on that. I don't mean, when I say men should be masculine, I don't mean it in a derogatory way, in a disrespectful, discriminatory way. Let me be very clear. I've been very clear before on this many, many times. I just still believe in the traditional, you know, the man of the house. But at the same time, I understand, you know, with the way of the world today, hey, if the lady makes more money, I even have proof, because I've dated girls. If everybody remembers Valerie, she made a lot more money than I did, and I was perfectly happy if she wanted to take the reins on that. But I'm just, again, that chivalry old school type where, you know, I think a man should lead when it comes to dancing. I think a man should open the door for his lady. I do believe that maybe when you're first starting to date, the man should kind of take charge and decide where to go on those first couple dates, and etc., so on and so forth. You know, it's cool to go other ways, and it's cool to go have the lady decide all that. But again, I just grew up with the idea that masculinity is okay. And I'm not afraid to say that. I really am not. I don't think that's going to get me into trouble. If it cancels me or whatever it is, so be it. Frankly, I don't have any friends anyway. So that's that. And I don't think I'm being anywhere near in a bad, discriminatory, negative, disrespectful way either. I'm just pointing out that, frankly, I think James Cameron is wrong. I think masculinity is okay. If you don't like that, don't watch me. It's really that simple. But we will stop that, because we don't need to go down that road. If you know me, you know me. Just go watch my other stuff. Which, speaking of which, if you got this far, I really do appreciate it. I really do. Even if you don't like this content, if you don't like me, thanks for watching. I really do appreciate it. You know, and if you are a supporter, huge shout out and thank you. My continued love and support to all those followers, those 3-4 of you that still do. I really do appreciate it, honestly, bottom of my heart. So if you would be ever so kind, go ahead, hit the subscribe button right down below. Give me a like, give me your comments, tell me what you think of Avatar: The Way of Water, if you're even going to bother to go see it. or if you've seen it in the future as this video came out and you're just want to give me your 2 cents on it. Did you like it? Did you not like it? What were your expectations? So on and so forth. You know, I love to hear that stuff. I've loved to kind of chat with people about it. And if you're listening on podcast, thank you. I really do appreciate that. So follow me there everywhere you can. Spotify's, Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts, etc., so on and so forth. So with all that said, thank you all so much for watching. We will see you guys next time. Later, y'all. All right, totally tangent, left field topic, not even related to Avatar. If you are a fan, and of course you know I am a big idol of Steven Crowder from the podcast and the show Louder with Crowder. If you haven't heard, I'll let you know, but of course, if you should know if you're a fan, he is officially leaving the Blaze, which is the service that he uses to basically upload his videos for Mug Club. If you are not familiar with it, he is leaving the Blaze, which means you need to go to mugclubforever.com to make sure that you are aware of what the next steps are. He's not going anywhere. He is simply just going to create his own, I guess, his own way of producing and uploading the show, in a manner of speaking. So mugclubforever.com, throw your email in there so that he can basically let you know what those next steps are. I'm excited because I think The Blaze was not that brilliant at all. I think it's just terrible, to be frank. But, you know, it was the only way we could watch those extended shows. But I'm excited for what Louder with Crowder will be in 2023. So make sure to fight like hell, metaphorically, so that we can basically give a middle finger to all the agendas and the bullshit that this government tries to pretend to make you give a fuck about some of the most pointless crap on the planet. If hopefully you're awake enough to realize, yeah, you just go and listen and watch some of my old stuff. You know where I'm going with that.